Hello, my YouTube family. Today is, oh gosh, what is today? Saturday, I believe. June 18th already. It's 2:44 p.m. Central Time. Wow, this month is flying by. And the shirt of the day says, Jesus loves you. I don't know if you can see it. But anyway, I'm going to try this again. This is a very long Joe Brandt's 1937 dream of California falling into the ocean. Okay, I tried to do this yesterday and oh wow, it really reads out long. So it's something you can just put on and listen to, nothing to watch or see. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'll do my very best. And here we go. This will go to show you the Lord gives us messages. Listen to the details. And back in 1937, they didn't do the things they do now. So you'll see what I'm talking about when I come to those parts. All right. This is Joe Brandt speaking. I woke up in the hospital room with a terrific headache, as if the whole world was revolving inside my brain. I remember vaguely the fall from my horse, Blackie. As I lay there, pictures began to form in my mind. Pictures that stood still. I seemed to be in another world. Whether it was the future or it was some ancient land, I could not say. Then slowly, like the silver screen of the talkies, but with color and smell and sound, I seemed to find myself in Los Angeles. But I swear it was much bigger, and buses and odd-shaped cars crowded the city streets. I thought about Hollywood Boulevard, and I found myself there. Whether this is true, I do not know, but there were a lot of guys my age with beards and wearing, some of them, earrings. All the girls, some of them kino, wore real short skirts, and they slouched along, moving like a dance. Yet they seemed familiar. I wondered if I could talk to them. And I said hello, but they didn't see or hear me. I decided I would look as funny to them as they looked to me. I guess it is something you have to learn. I couldn't do it. I noticed there was a quietness about the air, a kind of stillness. Something else was missing, something that should be there. At first, I couldn't figure it out. I didn't know what it was. Then I did. There were no birds. I listened. I walked 2 blocks north of the boulevard. All houses, no birds. I wondered what happened to them. Had they gone away? Again, I could hear the stillness. And then I knew something was going to happen. I wondered what year it was. It certainly was not 1937. I saw a newspaper on the corner with a picture of the president. It surely wasn't Mr. Roosevelt. He was bigger, heavier, big ears. If it wasn't 1937, I wondered what year it was. My eyes weren't working right. Someone was coming, someone in 1937. Oh, it was that darn big nurse ready to take my temperature. I woke up. Crazy dream. Okay, pause right there. He calls her a fat nurse, but I'm going to use the word big, okay? But he says fat. Moving on. The next day, Gosh, my headache is worse. It is a wonder I didn't get killed on that horse. I've had another crazy dream back in Hollywood. Those people, why do they dress like that, I wonder? Funny glow about them? It is a shine around their heads. Something shining. I remember it now. I found myself back on the boulevard. I was waiting for something to happen, and I was going to be there. I looked up at the clock down by that big theater. It was 10 minutes to 4. Something big was going to happen. I wondered if I went into a movie, since nobody could see me, if I'd like it. Some cardboard blonde was draped over the marquee with her legs 6 feet long. I started to go in, but it wasn't inside. I was waiting for something to happen outside. I walked down the street. In the concrete, they have names of stars. I just recognized a few of them. The other names I had never heard. I was getting bored. I wanted to get back to the hospital in Fresno, and I wanted to stay there on the boulevard, even if nobody could see me. Those crazy kids, why are they dressed like that? Maybe it is some big Halloween doings, but it don't seem like Halloween, more like early spring. There was that sound again, that lack of sound. Stillness, stillness, stillness. The quiet is getting bigger and bigger. I know it is going to happen. Something is going to happen. It is happening now. It sure did. She woke me up grinning and smiling, that big one, again. It's time for your milk, kiddo, she says. Gosh, old woman of 30 acting like the cat's pajamas. Next time maybe she'll bring hot chocolate. Where have I been? Where haven't I been? I've been to the ends of the earth and back. I've been to the end of the world. There isn't anything left, not even Fresno, even though I'm lying here right this minute. If only my eyes would get a little clearer so I can write all this down. Nobody will believe me anyway. I'm going back to that last moment on the boulevard. Some sweet kid went past, dragging little boys, twins, I guess, by each hand. Her skirt was up, well, pretty high, and she had a tired look. I thought for a minute I could ask her about the birds, what had happened to them. And then I remembered she hadn't seen me. Her hair was all frowsy, way out over her head. A lot of them looked like that. But she looked so tired, like she was sorry about something. I guess she was sorry before it happened, because it surely did happen. There was a funny smell. I don't know where it came from. I didn't like it. A smell like sulfur, sulfuric acid. A smell like death. For a minute, I thought I was back in chem. Quote, he put chemistry class. When I looked around for the girl, she was gone. I wanted to find her for some reason. It was as if I knew something was going to happen, and I could stay with her, help her. She was gone, and I walked half a block, and then I saw the clock again. My eyes seemed glued to that clock. I couldn't move. I just waited. It was 5 minutes to 4 on a sunny afternoon. I thought I would stand there looking at that clock forever, waiting for something to come. Then when it came, it was nothing. It was just nothing. It wasn't nearly as hard as the earthquake we had 2 years ago. The ground shook just an instant. People looked at each other, surprised. Then they laughed. I laughed too. So this was what I had been waiting for, this funny little shake? It meant nothing. I was relieved and I was disappointed. What had I been waiting for? I started back up the boulevard, moving my legs like those kids. How do they do it? I never found out. I felt as if the ground wasn't solid under me. Knew I was dreaming, and yet I wasn't dreaming. There was that smell again, coming up from the ocean. I was getting to the 5 and 10 store, and I saw the look on the kids' faces. Two of them were right in front of me, coming my way. Let's get out of this place. Let's go back east. He seemed scared. It wasn't as if the sidewalks were trembling, but you couldn't seem to see them. Not with your eyes, you couldn't. An old lady had a dog, a little white dog, and she stopped and looked scared and grabbed him in her arms and said, "Let's go home, Frou Frou. Mama is going to take you home." That poor lady hanging on to her dog. I got scared, real scared. I remembered the girl. She was way down the block, probably. I ran and ran, and the ground kept trembling. I couldn't see it. But I knew it was trembling. Everybody looked scared. They looked terrible. One young lady just sat down on the sidewalk, all doubled up. She kept saying, "Earthquake. It's the earthquake," over and over. But I couldn't see that anything was different. Then when it came, how it came, like nothing in God's world, like nothing. It was like the scream of a siren, long and low, or the scream of a woman I heard having a baby when I was a kid. It was awful. It was as if some monster was pushing up the sidewalks. You felt it long before you saw it, as if the sidewalks wouldn't hold you anymore. I looked out at the cars. They were honking, but not scared. They just kept moving. They didn't seem to know yet that anything was happening. Then that white car, that baby half-sized one, came sprawling from the inside lane right against the curb. The girl who was driving just sat there. She sat there with her eyes staring as if she couldn't move. But I could hear her. She made funny noises. I watched her, thinking of the other girl. I said that it was a dream and I would wake up. But I didn't wake up. The shaking had started again, but this time different. It was a nice shaking, like a cradle being rocked for a minute, and then I saw the middle of the boulevard seemed to be breaking in two. The concrete looked as if it was being pushed straight up by some giant shovel. It was breaking in two, and that is why the girl's car went out of control. And then a loud sound again, like I've never heard before. Then hundreds of sounds, all kinds of sounds, children and women, and those crazy guys with earrings. They were all moving, some of them above the sidewalk. I can't describe it. They were lifted up. And the waters kept oozing, oozing. The cries. God, it was awful. I woke up. I never want to have that dream again. It came again. Like the first time was a preview. And all I could remember was that it was the end of the world. I was right back there, all that crying, right in the middle of it. My eardrums felt as if they were going to burst. Noise everywhere, people falling down, some of them hurt badly, pieces of buildings, chips flying in the air. One hit me hard on the side of the face, but I didn't seem to feel it. I wanted to wake up, to get away from this place. It had been fun in the beginning, the first dream. when I kind of knew I was going to dream the end of the world or something. This was terrible. There were older people in cars. Most of the kids were on the street. But those old guys were yelling bloody murder, as if anybody could help them. Nobody could help anybody. It was then I felt myself lifted up. Maybe I had died. I don't know. But I was over the city. I was tilting toward the ocean like a picnic table. The buildings were holding better than you could believe. They were holding. They were holding. They were holding. The people saw they were holding, and they tried to cling to them or get inside. It was fantastic, like a building had a will of its own, everything else breaking around them, and they were holding, holding. I was up over them, looking down. I started to root for them. Hold that line, I said. Hold that line, hold that line, hold that line. I wanted to cheer, to shout, to scream. If the buildings held, those buildings on the boulevard, maybe the girl with the two kids, maybe she could get inside. It looked that way for a long time, maybe 3 minutes. And 3 minutes was like forever. You knew they were going to hold, even if the waters kept coming up. Only they didn't. I've never imagined what it would be like for a building to die. A building dies just like a person. It gives way. Some of the bigger ones did just that. They began to crumble, like an old man with palsy who couldn't take it anymore. They crumbled right down to nothing. And the little ones screamed like mad, over and above the roar of the people. They were mad about dying, but buildings die. I couldn't look any more at the people. I wanted to get higher, and then I seemed to be out of it all. But I could see. I seemed to be up on Big Bear near San Bernardino, but the funny thing was that I could see everywhere. I knew what was happening. The earth seemed to start to tremble again. I could feel it, even though I was high up. This time it lasted maybe 12 seconds, and it was gentle. You couldn't believe anything so gentle could cause so much damage. But then I saw the streets of Los Angeles and everything between the San Bernardino Mountains and Los Angeles. It was still tilting towards the ocean. Houses, everything that was left. I could see the big lanes, dozens of big lanes, still loaded with cars, sliding the same way. Now the ocean was coming in, moving like a huge snake across the land. I wondered how long it was, and I would see the clock, even though I wasn't there on the boulevard. It was 4:29. It had been half an hour. I was glad I couldn't hear the crying anymore, but I could see everything. I could see everything. Then, like looking at a huge map of the world, I could see what was happening on the land and with the people. San Francisco was feeling it, but she was not. Excuse me. Oh, achoo! So sorry. Okay. And that was bad. Okay, let me back up. Then, like looking at a huge map of the world, I could see what was happening on the land and with the people. San Francisco was feeling it, but she was not in any way like Hollywood or Los Angeles. It was moving just like that earthquake movie with Jeanette MacDonald and Gable. I could see all those mountains coming together. I knew it was going to happen to San Francisco. It was going to turn over. It would turn upside down. It went quickly, because of the twisting, I guess, is seen much faster than Hollywood. But then I wasn't exactly there. I was a long way off. I was a long, long way off. I shut my eyes for a long time, I guess, 10 minutes. And when I opened them, I saw the Grand Canyon. In quotes, it says, 3 months before, when I looked at Grand Canyon, that great big gap was closing in and Boulder Dam was being pushed from underneath. And then Nevada, and on up to Reno, way down south, way down, Baja California, Mexico too. It looked like some volcano down there in Mexico was erupting, along with everything else. I saw the map of South America, especially Colombia, another volcano eruption, shaking violently. I seemed to be seeing a movie of 3 months before the Hollywood earthquake. Pause. Keep this in mind. This is a warning. What's going to happen 3 months before the big earthquake in California? Isn't God merciful? This is awesome. Okay, I hope this gets to people in California and that they pay attention and remember this. Okay, I'll continue. Venezuela seemed to be having some kind of volcanic activity. Away off in the distance, I could see Japan on a fault too. It was so far off. Not easy to see because I was still on Big Bear Mountain. But it started to go into the sea. I couldn't hear screaming, but I could see the surprised look on their faces. They looked so surprised. Japanese girls are well made. Supple, easy, muscles that move well. Pretty, too. But they were all like dolls. It was so far away, I could hardly see it. In a minute or two, it seemed over. Everybody was gone. There was nobody left. Oh, I'm going to stop here and upload this much and see just how long this is going to be. There is a website here that so far I've not learned how to copy and paste with this computer, but this is on whygodreallyexists.com. Spell it all out, lowercase, whygodreallyexists.com. And then right here in the middle of this dream is http:// end of the americandream.com. So okay, I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna upload this and then I'll come back with a part 2 later. Okay. Thank you for listening. It's pretty amazing, isn't it? God bless.